Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss solving rational inequalities. Okay. Now, to solve rational inequalities, we need to follow these steps. A. Rewrite the inequality as a single fraction on one side of the inequality symbol and 0 on the other side. The next step is to determine over what intervals the fraction takes on positive and negative values. Okay, under that, we are going to locate the x values for which the rational expression is 0 or undefined. Factoring the numerator and denominator is a useful strategy. Second one is to mark the numbers found in the first one on a number line. Use a shaded circle to indicate that the value is included in the solution set and a hollow circle to indicate that the value is excluded. These numbers partition the number line into intervals. The third one is to select a test point within the interior of each interval in the second one. The sign of the rational expression in the aforementioned interval. And the last one is to summarize the intervals containing the solutions. Okay, now let's have example number 1. Solve the inequality 2x over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 1. Now, the first thing you're going to do is to transfer 1 to the other side, leaving this side to 0. So let's make that one. That becomes 2x over x plus 1. From positive 1 going here, that becomes negative 1 is greater than or equal to 0. So 0 na siya, kay balhin na nato ang 1. Next step is to have the LCD or write the whole inequality as 1, not the whole. This side, write this side as 1 fraction. Okay. Now let's have x plus 1 as our LCD. Now x plus 1 divided by x plus 1, that is 1 times 2x, that is, this is times 2x, that is 2x. Now here, 1 here, this one is considered to have a denominator of 1. Now let's divide x plus 1 divided by 1. That is x plus 1 times negative 1. That is times, that becomes negative 1 times x plus 1. And of course, we are not going to forget greater than or equal to 0. Now let's write it clean. 2x minus 1 times x plus 1 over x plus 1. Now, let us simplify this one. We are going to distribute negative 1. But do not forget the greater than or equal to 0 symbol. Now we have here 2x, negative 1 times x, that becomes negative x. Negative 1 times positive 1, that becomes negative 1 over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Now, we combine like terms. We are going to combine positive 2 and negative x since both have the same variables with the same exponents. 2x minus x, that becomes x minus 1. This one we are going to include, and x over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Now we have this 2, this inequality. Now, this one, the numerator, this one, we're going to solve this or equate this to 0, as well as this one, x plus 1. Why are we going to equate this into 0? para makita ang critical values sa atuang graph. So, it transfers si negative 1. That becomes positive. X equals positive 1. That is our first critical value. Now, this one, positive 1, we are going to transfer positive 1. That becomes x is equal to negative 1. This is the second critical value. Since we have now the critical values, let's make the graph. Okay, I have here, let's not make this shaded. This one, this one is negative 1, and this one is 1. Okay, now negative 1 here, we are not going to include negative 1 as a solution. Why? Negative 1 makes our inequality undefined. Why? We have x minus 1 over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. If we are going to substitute negative 1 as the value of x in our inequality, this becomes negative 1 minus 1 over negative 1 plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Negative 1 plus negative 1, we are going to add because they are in both signs. That becomes negative 2 over negative 1 plus 1, subtract because they have different signs. Negative 1 plus 1, that is 0, is greater than or equal to 0. If the denominator becomes 0, this is called undefined. Now, we cannot have a solution that is undefined. So, negative 1 here cannot be included in our solutions. Okay. Now, let's continue. Since negative 1 is not included and positive 1 is included, we are going to shade positive 1. Because positive 1 is undefined. Now, let's make the 3 partitions. Now, this side here is the first partition. This partition, this is x is less than negative 1. This one here is second partition, which is called x is greater than negative 1 but less than 1. And the third partition is this one. X is greater than 1. Now, to understand further the partitions, let's make a table. Let's make a table. Okay. First one is the intervals. We are going to write the 3 intervals. First one is this one. X is less than, this is negative 1 rather. Negative 1. The second interval is this one. X is greater than negative 1 but less than positive 1. And the third interval is this one. X is greater than 1. Now let's continue. Let's select test points. Now we are going to assign a number that satisfies this one, satisfies the intervals. Now what number is less than negative 1? So that is negative 2. Now here, that satisfy this interval. What number that satisfies this interval? X is greater than -1. Let's make a number line. This is 0, this is -1, -2, 1, and 2. X is greater than -1 but less than 1. So, si X daw, dako pa siya ni -1, pero gamay siya ni 1. Kinsay naa sa center na -1 ug 1, that is 0. So, the value of X here is 0. Now, on this one, in the third interval, X is greater than 1. Dili na ta mulayo ang number nga dako ni 1, +1, that is +2. Now, in here, the next part of our table, we are going to continue. Unsay ibutang sa sunod nga table, sa sunod nga column or row? This one. Let's go back to our inequality. This one. Kani, si x minus 1 over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Mao man niya itong inequality. So, si x plus 1 ibutang, si x minus 1 rather, and x plus 1. So, there is si x minus 1, there is si x plus 1, and silang duha. Let's see. Now, let us substitute the value of x sa first kani, -2. -2 minus 1, the same signs i-add, that is -3. Or the sign alone, ang sign ratong isulat, which is negative. Okay. The next one, dere, -2, kanire gyapon, pero dere na pod siya. +1, different signs, i-subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. Ang sign sa pinakadako is negative, so dere is negative again. Dere negative, dere negative. Now, let's try sa ikatulo. This one. Dira na pod. Si x is equal to -2 minus 1 over -2 plus 1. Okay. Kana siya, that is equal to -2 and -1, that becomes -3. -2 and +1, that becomes -1. Negative divided by negative, that is positive. 3 divided by 1, that is 3. So, the answer here is positive. Signs lang ang ibutang. No need na si numbers. Okay, now let's proceed to the second one. Second interval, which is, or the second test point, which is 0. Si 0 kani. Let's substitute. There is a permero. 0 minus 1, that is -1. So, ang answer dira is negative. And anhinta sa ikaduha, 0 plus 1, the answer is +1. So, the answer here is positive. Now, let's proceed sa last one. 0 minus 1 over 0 plus 1, that is, this is -1. So, the answer is negative. Now, let's proceed sa ikatulo na interval or test point. The third test point is this one. X is equal to 2. So, i-substitute ta po dato si x dira. 2 minus 1. That becomes 1. Positive 1. Then, diri na sad, sa ikaduha, 2 plus 1, that is 3. This is +1, this is 3. Positive si 3, so positive atong answer dere. Now, sa sa ikatulo, substitute 2 minus 1 over 2 plus 1. This becomes 1 over 3. And 1/3 here is positive again. Now, as you can see, as you can see, na ay tulo ka buok, duha rather, nga nag-positive. So, kanang duha nga nag-positive mo na to ang solutions. Okay. Going back sa ato ang graph, isulat ato balik si graph. This is -1 and this is +1. Shaded si +1 because +1 is included. Dili ma-undefine ang ato ang inequality kung apilon sa -1, +1 rather, kay going back to the inequality, x minus 1 over x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Ato ang isubstitute si +1 di ara, mahimo siyang 1 minus 1 and 1 plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. 1 minus 1, that is 0 over 2, greater than or equal to 0. So, dili undefined. Undefined lang ang usa ka fraction kung ang iyahang denominator kana kung mabali. Kung 2 divided by 0, that is undefined. Okay. Now, since balik ta sa tong table, since nag-positive ang interval nga x is greater than x is less than -1, o si x is greater than 1, so apil kani siya mo ni si x is less than -1, kani nga interval mo ni siya si x is greater than +1. Kung kinsay nag-positive, sila mo'y apil sa solution. So kani siya atong shadean together with the 1, shaded si 1. Si -1 dili shaded kay dili siya apil sa solution kay maka-undefined siya sa equation, sa inequality rather. Tapos si kanisad nga interval, positive man iyang answer dira, shaded pud siya. So ang dili ra shaded is kaning circle, kaning halo nga circle o kana. So, imuhang set notation. So, your conclusion for this inequality is x is an element of real number such that x kanisiya imong isulat is less than -1, or kanipod imong isulat x is greater than 1, pero since shaded man si +1, apil siya sa solution. So instead nga kanare isulat, dungagan siya og equal. So mahimo siyang x is greater than or equal to +1. So this is your set notation. So that is your final answer. And also, we will not forget how to write this in interval notation. Okay. Since this part here, this part going there, pasabot, walay kahumanan kina siya arrow. So, from here, padulong dadto, that is -infinity. Walay kahumanan na infinity. And on the other side, go from here going to that side, from +1 going dito, that is positive infinity, or pwede ra walay in positive. Okay. Now, in interval notation, we are going to write negative infinity to negative 1. Kani siya, ug kung taman dira, is part of the solution, union, ani. Padulong datto. Since shaded man si positive 1, we will use bracket. We're going to use 1 to positive infinity. Okay. So in interval notation, this is our answer. Pero kung set notation, kanilang siya. Okay. Okay. Now let's have example number 2. Okay. Same as example number 1. We are going to transfer this one here, making the other side equal to 0. So, mahimo siya yung 3 over x minus 2. From positive here, inig-transfer the array, dara na side, that becomes minus 1 over x is less than 0. So, wala na siya. Now, since this 2, kani sila, lahi-lahi og LCD, silang duha ato ibutang as LCD. Kay sila man jud ang LCD. Now, we are going to divide kani padulong dira, same as that sa example number 1, then kana times. So, x minus 2 kani, x times x minus 2 divided by dira kani x minus 2. Since pwede ra nato sila ma-divide, x minus 2 times divided by x minus 2 here is 1. Ang mabilin is only x. So, x, kopyahon si x times 3. Rather, dili sa nato isulat si x. Since si x ang nabilin dire, i-times nato siya dire. Pag divide nato ani padulong dira, x ang answer, i-times na po nato dire. So, x times 3, that is 3x. Now, dire na po tanga side, mag-divide. X times x minus 2, kanina po, divided by kana x. Only ang similar or common factors sa numerator and denominator is only x. So, walaon si x. Ang nabilin si x minus 2. Si x minus 2 kani atong i-times sa 1 na numerator. So, we can write 1 times x minus 2. Now, when we write it clean, mga ni ang mahitabo. Over x times x minus 2, dili kalimtan less than 0. So, we have this one. Now, since na ay negative 1 dere, ato siyang i-distribute sa sulod sa parentheses para mawala si parentheses. So, that becomes 3x. Negative times positive, that is negative. 1 times x, that is x. Negative times negative, that is positive. 1 times 2, that is 2 over x times x minus 2, that is less than 0. Now, combine like terms. Ang atong makombine is this one and this one. That is 3x minus x. So, that is 2x. So, since 2x ang answer, we can write the equation, the inequality as 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2 is less than 0. Now, since we have 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2 is greater than 0, dito ay kana siya, kani, o kaning ikatulo, dira ta magbase sa atong critical values. The first one is this, that is 2x plus 2 is equal to 0. The second one is this. Si x alone, since wala siya kauban, automatic, we can equate that into 0. And this one, x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now, let's solve for the value of x. Kani okay na ni? This is the first critical value. Now, this one, si positive 2, ibalhin dito. So, that is 2x negative 2. From positive, inigbalhin, mahimong negative. Now, dapat, dili more than 1 ang value nga tapad ni x or ang numerical coefficient. So, i-divide na to siya og 2. So, that is x equals negative 2 divided by positive 2. That is negative 1. So, this is the second critical value. And the third one, kana i-transfer. X equals positive 2. Now, okay. Now that we have the critical values negative 1, 0, and 2, let's make a graph. Ang graph niya is this one. Since tulo ra ka buo critical values gihatag, kana lang po itong i-plot. So, this is negative 1. Let's make this circle. This one is 0. And this one here is positive 2. Negative 1, 0, and positive 2. Now, going back to the original equation, this one, inequality rather, original inequality, si 3 over x minus 2 is less than 1 over x. Si negative 1, atong i-substitute ni x dere to see if apil ba si negative 1 sa solution. Now, let's substitute negative 1. So, 3 minus over negative 1 minus 2 is less than 1 over negative 1. 1 over negative 1, that is negative 1. 3 over negative 3, that is negative 1 is less than negative 1. This one is false kay same raman sila nga negative 1. Dapat equal sign para ma-true. Pero ang gigamit man is the less than sign symbol. This is false. So, si negative 1 is not part of the solution. Okay, now let's try 0. Let's have 0 sa original inequality. Okay, the original inequality is 3 over x minus 2 is less than 1 over x. Let's substitute 0. Kung i-substitute na to si 0 dire, 1 over 0, dili pwede kay kani is already undefined. So, since undefined naman ni, automatic 0 is not part of the solution. Now, let's try the last critical value, which is positive 2, using the original inequality. The original inequality is 3 over x minus 2 is less than 1 over x. So, si positive 2 ito ipuli, that is 3, 2 minus 2 is less than 1 over 2. Now, 2 minus 2 here, this becomes 3 over 0. And having a denominator of 0 is called undefined. So, automatic, si positive 2 is also not part of the solution. So, negative 1, 0, and 2 are not part of the solution. Let's make a table to present the interval and the test points. So again, let us make the table. Here is the interval. Here is the test points. But before that, let us first identify the intervals. Okay, balik ta sa graph. Ato ang i-delete si 1 dire kay wala man siya na-appeal o mention sa tulo ka critical values. Ang critical values are only this one, si 0, and si positive 2. So, sila lang atong ibutang sa ato ang number line. Now, ato sang i-identify ang atong interval. From here to here, ang atong interval dira, that makes x is less than negative 1. From negative 1 padulong ni 0, ang atong interval dira, that is x is greater than negative 1 but less than 0. Now, sa diri, from 0 to positive 2, ang atong interval, that is x, is greater than 0 but less than positive 2. So, ang x daw nara diri. Dako siya ni 0, pero gamay siya ni positive 2. And the last interval nga naa nato is this one. Kani diri. Si x is greater than 2. Mulapas pa dito ang value ni x, mas dako pa siya ni 2. So, gudira padulong dito. Walay kahumanan because na ay arrow. Next, since na-identify na nato ang intervals, ang interval nga kani, and na, this one, and this one, pwede na nato silang masulat sa table. Now, let's start with this one. First interval is x is less than negative 1. The second one is kani, x is greater than negative 1 but less than 0. The third one is this one. X is greater than 0 but less than 2, positive 2. And the last interval is this one. X is greater than 2. Now, let's have the test points. What value of x nga mas gamay? X is less than negative 1. So, mas gamay ni negative 1. Ilang tamulayo, that is negative 2. Mas gamay si negative 2 kaysa ni negative 1. Now, x is greater than negative 1 and less than 0. Less than sa 0, pero dili po siya mudako ni negative 1. So, ato ta sa tunga-tunga, negative 1/2. Okay. The next one is this. Sa ikatulong interval, x is greater than 0 pero gamay siya ni 2. So, pasabot na siya sa tunga ni 0 o ni 2. That is 1. And the fourth interval, x is greater than 2. Any number nga dako pa ni 2, pwede na itong mapulit diri. Pero di na tamulayo, si 3 lang atong pilion. Now, let's write the ato nang i-straight. We have 2x plus 2 over is less than, only less than. Zero. So, kani, the first one is sulat diri 2x plus 2. Kaning x idira. Kani diari. And kaning tanan diri sa last 2x plus 2 over, let me write this correctly para dili maglibog. 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2. Okay. Now, i-substitute na to ang value ni anita sa first test point, which is negative 2. Ato i-substitute dira. So, 2x plus 2, ilisan og negative 2. Mahimo na siyang negative 2 plus 2. negative 4 plus 2 that is equal to negative 2. So, ang answer diri is negative. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the second one. Diri na po ta patulong. Si x ilisan ng negative 2 automatic. That is negative 2 kay walay operation sa ikaduha, only x. Now, anita sa ikatulo, x minus 2, ilisan si x of negative 2, that is negative 2 minus 2, same signs, mahimo ng negative 4. So, the answer here is negative. And going to the last one, dere, padulong ta dere, ilisan si x dira, 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2 ug negative 2, that becomes 2 times negative 2 plus 2 over negative 2 times negative 2 minus 2. That is negative 4 plus 2 over positive 8. That is negative 2 over positive 8. That is negative 1/4. So, the answer here is negative. Since we are done with the first test point, let us continue to the second test point. Ang second test point is this one. Negative 1/2. Negative 1/2, ipuli dira. So, that is 2x plus 2. May muna siyang negative 1/2 plus 2. That is negative 2 over 2 plus 2. That is negative 1 plus 2 is equal to positive 1. So, here, our answer here is positive. Now, let's proceed to the second one. Let me erase this first. Okay. Ikaduha, diri na po siya. Si x. X is equal to negative 1/2. Negative na siya daan, so our answer is negative. Ikatulo, dira, x minus 2, ilisan o negative 1/2 si x minus 2. That becomes 2 minus 1 minus 2. That is negative 3 over 2. So, our answer here is negative. Now, let's go to the last one to finish off the second test point. Okay. You have here negative 1/2. Diri na po siya ihuli. Okay. That is 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2. That is 2 times negative 1/2 plus 2 over x. No, that's not x. That's negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 times negative 1/2 minus 2. Okay, so this is negative 3/2 plus 2 over negative 1/2 times, this is 2 minus 1 minus 2. Now, let's continue. This is negative 3/2 plus 2 over, now, let's have it by its LCD or the GCF. So, 2 divided by 2, 1 times negative 3. That's negative 3. 2 divided by 1, that is 2 times 2, that becomes positive 4 rather. And diri nga part kani That's negative 1/2 times negative 3/2. Now we have 1/2 over kani 1/2 na lang. I-subtract na sila. Copy the denominator 2. Dere, i-multiply numerator, negative times negative, that is positive 3/4. So 1/2 over 3/4, positive sila tanan. So your answer here is positive. Now, let me erase this first before going to the third test point. The third test point, we have x is equal to 1. So 1 atong ipuli sa tanang variable x. Let me erase this first. Okay. Let's have this one. Puli na to dira. That is 2 times 1 plus 2. That is 4, which is positive. So, positive atong answer dere. Now, let's continue here. Sa ikaduha, x, ipuli ra si 1. 1 is already positive. So, ang atong answer dere is positive. Now, anhita sa ikatulo, dere, 1 minus 2 from x minus 2, that becomes negative 1. So, our answer here is negative. Next. Okay, this one, x is equal to 1, i-transfer or i-substitute ni 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2. Tanang x, ilisan na to og 1. So, that is 2 times 1 plus 2 over 1 times 1 minus, rather, this is minus 2. Let's continue. 2 times 1, that is 2 plus 2 over 1 minus 2, that becomes negative 1. 2 plus 2 is 4 over 1 times negative 1, that is negative 1. And this is equal to negative 4. So our answer here is negative. Now let's continue to the last test point, which is x is equal to positive 3. So tanang values, variable x, ilisan na to og positive 3 para itong answer dere. Identify kung unsa siya, positive ba siya or negative. Now, let's continue. Let me erase this first para natin space and dili na kay tamulayo. Okay. You have here si x minus 3. X equals 3 rather, ipuli dira. So, 2x plus 2. Ilisan og 3 si x. That is 2 times 3 plus 2. That becomes 6 plus 2 is equals to 8. So, positive siya. So, positive atong answer dira. Next. Next one is this one. Kana, x equals 3. So, x raman siya. Positive na si 3. So, positive magyapon na itong answer. Now, let's continue to the third one. X minus 2. Atong value ni x dire is 3. Minus 2. 3 minus 2 is positive 1. So, our answer here is positive. Now, let's go to the last one, which is kani. Kana. Now, let's substitute 2x plus 2 over x times x minus 2. So, tanang x dire, ilisa na to 3. That is 2 times 3 plus 2 over 3 times 3 minus 2 equals 8 over 3. This one is positive. So, our answer here is positive. Okay, now let's continue. Earlier, sa example number 1, ang atong gikuha na solution is ang katong nag-positive, kanang duha. Kaya ang atong gigamit nga symbol sa example number 1 is greater than or equal to. Pero sa example number 2 na to, ang ato ang inequality is 3 over x minus 2 is less than 1 over x. Pag less than gani ang ato ang inequality symbol nga gamiton, ang correct answer or correct solution kay katong nag-negative. Remember, basta less than gali ang inequality symbol nga gigamit sa ato ang inequality, rational inequality, ang correct answer kay ang katong nag-negative. Ang interval nga nag-negative. Now, ang interval nga nag-negative kay mao ni sila. Diba ang intervals ani kay this one is x is less than negative 1 and this one here interval ani is x is greater than 0 but less than positive 2. Now, silang duha kani nga interval ang nag-negative. Since silang duha ang nag-negative, sila ang solution sa ato ang inequality. Now, let's make the graph again para dili maglibog. The graph here is this one. This one is negative 1, this is 0, and this is positive 2. Okay, si kani siya, this is the first interval nga solution. Kani. So that is x is less than negative 1 and also kani mao ni siya. Mao ni atong solution. X is greater than 0 but less than positive 2. Now, after the graph, we are going to write the set notation. Our answer in set notation form. That is x is an element of all real numbers such that this one, you are going to write this one, x is less than negative 1, or you write this one again, x is greater than 0 but less than 2. This is your answer in set notation. But in interval notation, this is your answer. Interval notation. Going there, padulong dadto, that is negative infinity. So you write negative infinity to negative 1 union with this one. 0 and 2 only. Why 0 and 2? Because diri taman ang iyahang interval. Starting from 0, taman ni 2. Tunga-tunga ni 0 o ni 2. So this is your answer in interval notation form. I hope nasabtan. Thank you so much for watching. And you may now enjoy your quiz. Thank you.